Hello, this is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper, and I'm going to go through my weekly planning routine. I use a Hobonichi hone, and I have the cover with the cute cats on it. I myself have two cats that are orange, much less white than these, but I did go through and went ahead and updated my monthly just to test out removing some redundancy. And I also want to test out doing just a couple little tweaks just to see if the few people that watch this enjoy it. I do have about 100 people that consistently watch this video. And if I don't post, I do have some people question it. So it is something that people enjoy. So I will do a quick flip through of this last week. So on Sunday, I did kind of map out my May pen and ink. I am considering selling some pens. The number of pens in my collection, I'm not able to use them all. And I'm not gravitating towards some. So I just started making a list of some pens that I might consider selling. And I want to start looking into what the best way to do that would be. So there's that. Monday, all week this week, I had a much busier schedule than how it actually ended up, which that'll be one of the things that I go through, is going through my weekly and how that ended up looking. And I'll fill this out with y'all towards the end. Here's my Tuesday. Tuesday, I found out that I found out what I would be leading for professional development on Wednesday. And I found that out Tuesday afternoon. So I ended up spending some time on Tuesday evening kind of mentally preparing how I wanted it to flow. And then after putting Aiden to bed, I spent some time actually working on the presentation. I spent more time in the morning working on the presentation. And then I had the presentation on Wednesday, and I actually got some really nice feedback. And I had to do the same presentation 3 times because it was a half-day PD and buildings dismissed at different times. So we did a stagger start for the training. And so I repeated the same training 3 times. The first one, I had some administrators walk in towards the end and stick around, and they asked a couple of questions as I was wrapping things up. And then after the second section, I looked at my phone and I had a message from one of the administrators. Hey, where did you go? We wanted to tell you how great you did, and we would love to talk with you about how we can expand the content you covered into the building this year and next year. So that was really nice. And then right before the third section, I saw my boss, who said she also got messages of how good my training was. So I felt really good with that. So sorry, my son is sending me messages, so I just had to quickly reply. And what I am noticing a pattern is I start out really strong at the beginning of the week with documenting all the things, all the conversations that I have and such. And then Thursday and Friday, I really struggle. And I actually went and kind of backfilled some of this in like this part. And I'm not keeping track of what I'm getting done. I'm not keeping track of kind of how I'm spending my time. So I'm going to work on that. And yesterday was a productive day, but also I allowed myself a good amount of downtime because the week was so busy, and this next week is going to be a little busier. So, yeah, let's get into planning for this week. Off to the side, I do have a iPad Pro. That's what I was using to respond to my son, because if I try to use my phone, which I'm recording with, it stops the video. Oh, and I've got my coffee. It is a Christmas mug. I always think, gosh, I hope no one actually notices that, but I'm just going to go ahead and label it. It's a Christmas mug. I am obsessed with llamas, and it is large. So I love to have this mug um, on weekend days. And I also wanted to, because I tend to share my coffee information. So I have a store brand Italian sweet creamer, but then I also have in there, and I think I've shown this once before, Element or LMNT has chocolate salt, and the one that I have in there today is a chocolate caramel, but I grabbed this one. This was in their holiday pack, but occasionally I will add half of one of these to my weekend coffee. It adds a little extra flavor, and I am a firm believer in electrolytes, and I try to have electrolyte drinks quite frequently. This video is totally not sponsored. I'm just sharing. I really love this. I'm actually about to order some more of these because I've got 2 packets left. So that's about 4 weeks worth. But yeah. All right. So for Monday, I have a busy week because I'm out on Friday for a conference, and so I'm cramming in a lot of things. Like I just, instead of having 5 days to cram in observations and things like that, I have 4. And I've had a couple of students that are put on my radar recently for their teams wanting another set of eyes to give them some recommendations. And so I'm trying to squeeze those in the pockets that I have. Plus, I have a couple of evals that I'm working on. The pen that I'm using this week is a Pilot Vanishing Point with an extra fine 18 karat gold black nib. I love this pen, as you can see from the markings here. This is a well-loved pen. I've had this for many years, and it is one that I continue to return to. All right, so make sure I'm on the right week. I have an IEP meeting on Monday at 8:30, and this is one that was scheduled right after the April vacation, but I missed it and it got rescheduled because my son was sick and I was home with my son. And my mind got caught for a moment because one of the attendees, their last name is my maiden name, and it was in the meeting invite. It has my old maiden name and then my married name right next to each other, and my mind quickly did, oh, how did they know? Nope, that's just another person in the meeting. That was a moment. 12 o'clock, I am doing a lower elementary observation, and then I have to go 12:30 to a middle school consult. I've been talking the last couple of weeks about how one of my reflection points is trying to figure out how I can decrease the amount of going between building to building in the district within a day. I've just been unable to really make any headway with that. And this is a great example. This is a virtual meeting, so I can be anywhere for that meeting. But I've got to go from the pre-K through 2 school at 12 and then over to the middle school for 12:30. But that was the time that everyone else was available, so I'm going to make it work. I've just let them know I might be a little bit late. And then I have a job alike group at 1 o'clock. Now, this week is so full of professional development. And one of the things that I touched on in my training is compassion fatigue. If you have not heard of compassion fatigue, that is very similar, if not exactly the same as burnout. It's when you're in a caring profession and over time, the empathy that you feel, kind of the weight that you take on from the people that you work with, really weighs you down and it starts to impact other parts of your life. And one of the strategies for combating or counteracting compassion fatigue is professional development. And that's my week this week, is just a whole bunch of professional development. So that's great. All right. That is my Monday. Now let's get into Tuesday. So Tuesday at 8:15, I have a lower elementary follow-up meeting. We had these meetings at the beginning of the year. Now we're going to have them at the end to reflect on how things went. I have a 9 o'clock upper elementary consult, very promptly followed by a 9:15 lower elementary observation. So again, bouncing between buildings. 11:55, I have an upper elementary consult, so I'm going to bounce right on back. And then I have nothing for the rest of the afternoon. And it's nothing now. This time is going to be filled with, actually, not today. This will be a paperwork day because there is MCAS across multiple buildings. So I'm going to be able to find a hiding spot and get some things done. That will be lovely. But the free time that I have on Monday will be filled with student observations. All right, Wednesday the 8th, this is where things really start to get busy for me. So I have an 8:15 lower elementary consult. I have a 9 o'clock upper elementary consult. I have a 12:30 upper elementary consult. And again, this time will be filled with student observations. I just have to, one of the students is a middle school student and there's a 3-week rotating schedule. So I have to look at that student's schedule for this week to figure out where they are and whether that's one of the identified observation times. If it's not something that the team has indicated would be valuable for me to see, then I'm going to observe one of the elementary students that I have been asked to observe. Okay, and then, oh yeah, so the other thing that's kind of been going on is placement meetings. So there's been a lot of meetings added to my schedule for placement. And this is talking about student placement for next year. So making sure that we're allocating students within groupings that are helpful, but also thinking about the resources that are required and ensuring that those resources are thoughtfully used. And then I don't have this on my work calendar, so let me flip to my monthly. Apologies for the flipping, but I have a 4 o'clock massage and a 5:45 chemical peel. I was not able to book anything in April. And 5:45 chemical peel. and I will probably go to BJ's because where I get my massage and chemical peel, there's a BJ's nearby, and there are some parts of my groceries that I like to get at BJ's because I'm getting more for my money, but there's also a gas station there, so I can get cheaper gas. My commute in general, I don't drive many miles, so the last time I filled up my gas tank was maybe around April 11th or April 12th, something like that. um, and actually, did I go for, yeah, it was sometime this week that I filled up my gas tank. My car was at the shop all this week, and then I haven't needed to fill it the last 2 weeks. That just is how it is. I'm very grateful for that. But I have about a quarter of a tank left, so I can probably make it to Wednesday. I can definitely make it to Wednesday. So it makes sense to go and pop over and fill my gas tank. I have a scheduling conflict, which actually, now that I write that, let me go ahead and put a task in. So I am working with a solar company right now to see about adding some more solar panels onto our roof. With my husband's Tesla, we are now using more electricity than we are producing during the winter months, and I'm going to predict during the summer months where we're using air conditioning units. So for the first time in many years, we now have an electric bill through the, I guess, state or local electrical company. And we're not used to that. That's been a surprise, and we didn't anticipate it. But so I'm working with the solar company to see if we add more panels, how much more would that be per month? And does it counteract what we have had to pay in electrical during this past winter and what I'm predicting we'll have to pay this summer to make it worth locking into that monthly expense? And depending on what that monthly expense is, if we do it, for me, that also dictates at whatever point in time I'm ready to get a new car, whether I get gas, hybrid, or electric. Oh, that's a lot of information. Sorry, but so I need to contact Solar regarding Wednesday. They had, I did a couple of calls with them the last few days, and they had booked Wednesday afternoon to come to do the site inspection and talk about a little bit more of a final plan, because they went over a preliminary, and I'm actually not thrilled with the preliminary, so I'm hoping the final plan is better. But I've got to reschedule that. I'll probably have to reschedule it to the following week, if I'm being honest. All right, so that is my Wednesday. Now, Thursday, also a busy day. This is my final day of work for the week. So at 8:15, I have it's a kindergarten consult. I was going to write lower elementary, but my hand wrote kindergarten. And then I don't know what that is. Oh, sorry. I had the wrong week up. That was, I still had it on the week before my April vacation. All right. So kindergarten consult, and then at specifically 9:31, but I'm going to write 9:30. I have a high school observation. Again, I've had a number of students that people are reaching out and saying, "Can you put eyes on?" So that's one of them. Then I have to go back over to lower elementary to run an AIM group. And then at 1 o'clock, I have a consult for a middle school student that, again, I was asked to put eyes on. They're not on my caseload, but they might end up there. 2 o'clock, I have middle school AIM group. Now I need to add some tasks here because my mind is screaming at me right now with anxiety, just with how I'm going to fit everything in. So I need to add, when I'm doing my scheduling, oh gosh, another thing. So there's a middle school AIM group that I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fit in this week. So I've got to talk with the teacher about that. There is, so I need to add transition time for my kindergarten AIM group. So I have a middle school student who has identified that they would like to, we're calling it be a peer mentor to a lower elementary student. They would like to go to the lower elementary and they would like to help out. I do have a kindergarten student that I think would be a really good fit. And we trialed it out this week, and the middle schooler came with me to the kindergarten AIM group. We had a planning session together. They co-led it with me, and by co-led, they came up with an icebreaker activity, and then they called on the students for responses and provided some kind of specific praise for the students that participated. And then I tend, after my kindergarten AIM group, I have a student that will do kind of a worry dumping session with me. They'll want to sit down with me for a few minutes and tell me about their worries. And so the plan was to have the middle schooler join that worry dumping. Now, what actually happened was this little kindergarten nugget, sweet angel baby, had a tantrum for just about the whole duration of the group lesson. It was very distracting, but my middle school student handled it wonderfully. We debriefed after, and the middle school student was able to consider the impact of yelling on the other students, but also was more focused on making sure that the students didn't have kind of the space to focus so much on the yelling or talk about the yelling. And the middle schooler actually gave me a nudge when a couple of students were whispering to each other. And so I was able to, while the middle schooler was listening to a student's answer, I was able to kind of, tap and give a nonverbal cue to the students that were doing a little chatting. But we talked about how we don't know if it was about the yelling, but we want to be mindful of that and kind of the good teaching skills or group management skills that this middle schooler was displaying. I was able to get the two students together afterwards, and the middle school student was able to tell the kindergartner, I do that too sometimes, and I'm in middle school. I yell at my teachers. I yell in class, and it's something I'm working on. And so I was able to say, well, maybe the two of you can work together to come up with strategies that would be really helpful so that you can feel your feelings without yelling in class. And so it was this lovely, lovely moment. But long story, just to come to, what I realized this past week is I ended up being late for a meeting because it was scheduled right after my AIM group, but I needed to bring the middle schooler back to middle school and I needed the opportunity to process the group with them. I also needed time to prepare the lesson with them and review the content. And so I just need to build into my schedule that transition time. So I'm just going to add in some calendar holds before and after that kindergarten AIM group. So that's what that note is for. And there was something else. I guess I need to. So I'm going to add in the AIM Explorer planning. And I probably should do it, but I just don't know that I'm going to be able to pull it off this week, although maybe I can on Tuesday. There's a block during the day that the middle schoolers don't have academic content, and so I want to try to schedule it during that time earlier in the week so that I can do that planning with the student. Okay. Whew. There's that. All right, Thursday, getting back to that. There it is. I just needed the visual cue of looking at. So I need to reschedule the middle school consult, and that's on Thursday, and I need to reschedule lower elementary consult that is on Wednesday because the transition meeting is during the time I would typically do a weekly consult at 2:00, but the transition meeting is 1:45 to 2:45. And we missed it last Wednesday because of the half-day professional development. So I'm kind of motivated to get that scheduled. Okay, going back to Thursday. I have a 7:00 presenter dinner. So for the conference the night before, the presenters are invited to a dinner at the venue. And because I'm on the board, I go to that dinner. So I'm excited. The last time I got the opportunity to go to that dinner was pre-pandemic. And I was on the conference committee, which I'm still on the conference committee. Admittedly, I did not do much this year with the change in jobs and just kind of adjusting. And a lot of the meetings were during my workday and I couldn't make those meetings. So is what it is, but I still have helped out in a tiny capacity. But it was nice all those years ago to be able to sit down and have a meal with very highly respected people in my field and do that networking. So I'm excited about that. So that's at 7:00. And we are also carpooling on Thursday, and it is MCAS again. So there is that. I need to check if the high school is doing MCAS that day, because if so, then I'm not going to be able to do that observation, but the teacher didn't tell me there was a conflict anyway. Thinking out loud here. Now, Friday is the conference. I know I need to be there by 8. I might need to be there a little bit early. One of the things that I'm doing is helping to set up the QR codes that people are using to sign in and out of the different symposia. So I've got to print those out I just have a question to ask before I hit print, but I'm going to print those out and then I'll be making sure that that's up. I also might be working with the volunteers a little bit, and I might be doing some behind the scenes work on the CEUs, the credits that people earn if people are having issues. But I do have a person that I currently work with who is pursuing their board certification, that I'm trying to see if they can be a volunteer at this event, and then they get to go for free and get the experience, which I think is exceptionally valuable. And then after that, I think at 5 o'clock, I am going to be going out to dinner with a pen friend, which is exciting. So I just have to figure out which of the options of restaurants sound good, confirm the restaurant, and once I wrap up the conference, I'll head over to that. That'll be a fun day. There's also people sometimes gather after the conference, but I haven't actually, no, they don't. They gather after the dinner. So that'll probably be a late night. And then on Saturday, there is, what time does that start? There is another conference that I am attending, and it's a virtual one, and it's 10 to, they have it listed as 2:15. And this one actually perhaps negatively impacted the conference on Friday because the attendance for the conference Friday was, last I heard, lower than what we had hoped for. And I'm wondering if it's because this was offered and it's free, so people are able to get their CEUs, but not quite sure. And then Sunday is Mother's Day, and at 10:45, we have reservations with my in-laws for brunch. So that is my week. And I thankfully, wonderfully took Monday off as a personal day, so that I can kind of rest and recover after this week, because starting Wednesday, it's just going to be hustle, hustle, hustle. And it's a lot of really great things, but it's still some hustle. All right. I am looking, this is going to be a long planning video. So hopefully you had your pen and your planner and you were working right along with me. But goodness. Okay, so I'm just going to go through yesterday. So yesterday I have a hard time sleeping in, but I made it to about 6:30. And part of that is the animals. So the cats have been in this awful habit of sitting on the floor right next to my bed and meowing at me starting at about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. And so a few weeks ago, I bought an auto dispenser cat feeder, and I've been playing with the settings. And what I have figured out is that if I do a 6 p.m., a 12 a.m., and a 6 a.m. feeding, they have stopped for now sitting by my bed and meowing early in the morning. So we're going to keep this going, and hopefully it continues. But I did a wake up and coffee. It was, oh gosh, what did I do? Oh, I had at a local restaurant, I went for breakfast yesterday, which was a Mother's Day celebration part 1. And then I played a game of cribbage and won. Before that, I did some tidying, but then I had coffee with my neighbor. which we haven't done in a while. Both of us have had life happening, and so we finally were able to carve out some time, and I'm so appreciative of that. And then I did a little bit of journaling. I spent an hour and 10 minutes on the treadmill and got about 7 miles in, a little bit over 7 miles. And then I did a shower. And then my son and I ran some errands yesterday. We went to TJ Maxx because boyfriend needed some clothes. He is growing like an absolute weed. And so he and I went, he picked out his shirts, he picked out some pants. We got him a pair of a little bit more dressy but comfy pants because he can't be bothered with buttons and zippers in his life. That's just, he's not here for it. So I found a pair of New Balance pants that would be good for a golf course because he is really into that hobby right now. But when he starts going to golf courses, there's a dress code and he needs to step up his game. So we went to TJ Maxx and then we had to drive a ways, but there's a Chinese food place that does gluten-free. And so that's kind of our Mother's Day tradition. So again, this was kind of a mini Mother's Day for me. Going shopping with my little man. We picked up Chinese food from Lilac House, and it's gluten-free and safe, which is nice. And then I did some more journaling, and I had another call with the solar company. Did some more work on our budget. And then I got together with my other friend, Jess. That's right. I have a husband named Jesse and two excellent, very close, wonderful, best friends named Jess. But we got together for a few hours last night. So I got home nice and late. And promptly went to bed. And then was able to sleep until 7. Reconciled our budget from our expenditures yesterday. And then began my YouTube filming. So now this is caught up wonderfully. And my next steps are I'm going to go through the uploading, editing, exporting, and uploading process and get this up so that you may view it. Maybe I will do a premiere. I didn't plan any questions throughout for engagement, so maybe not. Maybe I'll do it in the future. Leave me a comment if you made it to the end. Do you like premieres? Is that something you would find valuable? And if you do, let me know what time of day you would like it. Do you want it in the morning, mid-morning, afternoon? When do you do your planning that it would be helpful and valuable to sit with me and do that with me? I'll also take a peek at the video analytics and see if I can get that information based on view times and such. But anywho, I'm going to sign off and get going with the rest of my day. I hope you have a wonderfully productive week, and I will see you in the next one.